listening to Labrador Legacy. You're going to hear from Harvey Blake of Nova Swivel about trapping lynx and foxes, how he fell through the ice, and he gives advice.
You see this lynx there still got its claws on him.
What is that?
You see his claws, toenails and that there?
Is that his bones in there?
Sharp too, that is.
When were you born?
When was I born? I was born in 1956, here in Northwest River.
What was your childhood like?
My childhood was pretty good. It was traveling all through northwest to Mulligan to Grand Lake, always out in the woods, on the land, hunting and fishing. I really enjoyed it.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes, yeah, I had 2 brothers and a sister.
What were some of the things you learned as a child?
I learned to respect the older people and not to go around town, making fun of people or anything like that. And I learned to respect the animals too. We only got animals in season. You see the animals out of season, you didn't touch them.
What were your favorite things to do?
My favorite things to do were hunting and trapping when I was growing up. And I missed a lot of school because of it, so don't you fellas do that.
What games did you play?
I played hockey, we played softball, soccer, just the normal games that everybody play again right now. Hockey was my favorite.
What was dating like back then?
Dating? Dating was pretty good back then too.
When did you start learning how to hunt and trap?
I started learning right from a young age. We used to go with my mother and father, and they always trapped all their lives, and we learned from them.
What was the first thing you've ever caught in a trap?
The first thing, probably a mink, I would say.
What were the traps like back then?
The traps were all leg hole traps back then. Leg hole traps and snares. And nowadays you're not supposed to be using a leg hold for certain animals. You can use it for a fox, but you're not supposed to. And you can use a modified leg hold and that for other animals, but not the type we had back then.
What was the best part of trapping back then?
It was staying out on the land and just going to check every trap, and you'd be excited every time you come to a trap, wondering what might be in it.
What was the hardest part of trapping back then?
Probably the hardest part was back then. When I started, we used to have to walk a long way on snowshoes, and because we couldn't get skidoos in there, and that was probably the hardest. Breaking the trail through the snow almost every weekend.
How have things changed since you were little?
Things have changed a lot. We got skidoos now that can go almost anywhere instead of having to walk. I used to leave Mulligan from my cabin and walk into another cabin. I had 17 miles in the country, and that'd take me 2 days. Now I can get there in 2 hours on skidoo.
What have been the biggest things to change for trapping since you first started?
I guess the biggest thing to change is how we handle our fur and that. We had people come in from the Trappers Association and go through all the fur with us and show us how to handle it and spread it and clean it and everything else, and then things seem to you get a better price that way. We were handling it, much the same way, but I don't think we were stretching it as much as we should have been. They told us that with a fox, you just stretch it all you can, and The hardest thing to trap, what I found was otter. But some people can trap them no problem at all, but it takes time, that's all. Otter, they're like, a lot of people trap them pretty easily, but I couldn't. I don't know why, I got a few, but not as many as I should have had. Yeah, a lot of otters now, a lot of otters everywhere. That's a conibear trap. And that's the one that you use for a lynx or a beaver.
How does it work?
I can show you now shortly how it works.
Is it a pressure one where they step on it, or how does
No,
that work?
they come through it, a body gripping trap. So it's a quick death. Yeah. I got 3 of those. This one here I would use for marten or mink. And you put most time now people put them in a box. They build a plywood box and nail up to the tree and put the trap in. And with this one here, you can use either on the land or underwater. A lot of people use them underwater for beaver.
Are there any traps that are harder than others?
Conibear is harder to set than their leg hole trap.
Yeah.
Conibear is the hardest one to set, but there's no problem at all if you got the right tools. With a leg hole trap, you just bend it over a stump and get the springs down and set it. With a conibear trap, it's a different story.
You know how if you like kill them, right? And like if you like skin them out and you sell them, right? How much would they win back then?
How much were they?
Yeah.
Well, I had over $800 for one of these before. And a fox, a red fox, probably $70 or $80 back then.
Make some garbage to look on.
And a marten, little old marten, you get over $200 for a marten.
What was your favorite animal to trap?
Right there, Mr. Lynx. And the last couple of years, I had, the last 2 years, I had 11. And I say the best I done first when I started trapping was you might get 1 or 2 a year. But now the last few years, it seemed like there's cycles coming up. All animals are on a cycle, so.
What was the biggest animal you trapped?
Biggest is a wolf.
A wolf?
Yeah, yeah.
Or a bear?
A bear, yeah, I guess bear is biggest, yeah. I forgot about the bear, and we used to use that trap there in the old days, when I started. And now we just use this here now, the spring set up and the cable. First, when I was a young fella, the old people in Mulligan, they'd take a trap like that and they'd walk 7 or 8 miles in to the hills to try to get a black bear. And because there's nothing around the shore or anything, and now they're all over the place. But imagine the difference. You carry this or carry that. So. A lot easier now.
Have you almost died from an animal that wasn't dead in a trap?
I got bit one time with a fox. But, I had to get rabies shots, but the animal it got in a snare and went under my shed. And I tried to haul it out with the tree, and it swung around and bit me in the hand. But I had a big old mitt on for a good job, so that's the only time I got bit. It never bit me after that.
Why are lynx your favorite animal to trap?
Lynx is my favorite animal because they're so elusive. Lynx are, you never see them. But no, lately people have been seeing them, but back when I started trapping, you never see a lynx. You'd be lucky to see their track. They're just a beautiful animal.
Why do you think that lynx became more common?
I don't know. I say just their cycle, but I don't know what their cycle is. But when we were growing up, like there were very few, and then they came built up, and probably in the early '80s or something, they built up, and then they went back down again, and now they're coming again. So, and they might be at the top of their cycle now because the last few years there was a lot around.
What kind of lynx is it?
What kind of lynx? This is a male lynx here. You get both male and female. You get the younger ones, but this is old, like adult male here. You can tell when you're skinning them that you can tell like the size. The size tell you if they're adult or not. And there's some little little kittens, they get a lot smaller than that. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite like fur color or like a favorite fur color you've gotten from one?
Not really, no. No, I find this here a nice color here.
Who's the people who you went hunting with and trapping?
I used to trap with my friends or my family. My mother mostly. She was born in Mulligan, and we stayed down there a lot and trapped in Mulligan River a bit. And then we trapped up in Grand Lake as well, but we had to walk in up there. And so after a few years, I moved back to the Mulligan area again.
How long of a walk was it to Grand Lake?
Well, we'd go up on Skidoo, but we'd go to Berryhead Brook, and then we had walking over the country, and we'd walk in probably 4 or 5 hours. And me and my friend Russell McNeil, we built a little tilt in there, so we stay in there, walk in and stay there for a night or two, and come back out again and back down to school.
How old were you when you and your friend built the tilt?
Probably 16 or 17 years old, probably.
What have been the biggest things to change for trapping since you first started?
I guess some of the biggest things were the way we traveled around in that. When I first started, we had to walk on snowshoes a lot. And nowadays, you get on our skidoo and go now. You do a little bit of walking around your traps and have a snowshoes, but not for miles like we used to do.
Through the years, what was the best thing you ever trapped?
The best thing I ever trapped? Yep. I'll say probably a lynx.
Why is that?
They back then there were hardly any lynx around, and you might some of the trappers wouldn't get any through the winter, and some more might pick up 1 or 2. So you're always happy when you got a lynx. Everybody was happy because not only you had a good skin of fur to sell, but you also have meat to eat.
When did you trap it?
This one here? Yep. I trapped this past winter.
What was the hardest things to trap?
Otter, I think, was the hardest for me. Like a lot of people can trap them easily, but I had a hard time trapping them. I didn't know, just a elusive animal. Like I had a few now, but when you put out our otter trap, sometimes they wouldn't touch them or they'd strike them up or something. And for me, they were the hardest. Lots of people can find them right easy to catch. So.
How do you know where to put your traps?
We just got to put them wherever. You got so big of a trap line, you put so many traps out on this point or that point or in the cove, wherever you think an animal might come along, you put your trap out.
How do you know when to check your traps?
When I was trapping for marten, we check them every week. But with these lynx and foxes and that now, the last couple of winters I tracked them every 2 to 3 days. And the reason for that was I had 3 lynx eat last winter. They were caught in a snare, they were dead, but other lynx eat them. I had 3 eat last year and twice before over the years I had lynx eat. Just a head left. And the fox will do the same thing. You go to your snare and there was just a head left, the rest of the body gone. That's when they're plentiful, when they're really plentiful.
What do you think the future of hunting and trapping will be like?
Well, I hope it'll be okay as long as they get the interest from the young people and they keep it up. Keep our heritage and our culture alive. And so hopefully it'll be okay. But now the weather climate change is warming everything up. One time the season would open on October the 15th, and now it doesn't open until November the 1st because the fur is not prime. And in order for you to get any money for a good skin of fur, you got to be prime. And the cold weather is what primes up your fur.
What does prime fur look like versus not prime fur? Thank you.
When the fur is not primed, it's a bluish black color. But when it is primed, it's like that there. Look, beige color, I guess you call it. See, look at this here. Look, here's a nice prime fur here. And I guess you call it beige, I don't know. Bluish black is not prime. So.
What do you think would help people learn hunting and trapping in the future?
Just go out around with people get in with people that are trapping, and you can take trapping courses too through the Newfoundland Labrador Trappers Association. They put off courses, and you got to have that course in order to get a trapping license. So if you ever get a chance, take it.
What do you think would help people know their culture in the future?
Just get out around with your parents and grandparents and see what they're doing and copy them. Whatever they do in the winter and the spring, and whether they're hunting or fishing or trapping or whatever.
What do you want to see change for the future?
I don't know. Just the only thing I can think of is just make sure more young people get into the trapping, because it seems like there's not many in there right now. When I was growing up, there were a lot of young people involved, and now there seems to be less and less these days.
What is your life advice?
Get out and enjoy that beautiful landscape. Go wherever you can. Every time you get a chance to go out on the land, go, and you see nice, beautiful things.
What is the key to happiness?
Key to happiness is having a good family and good friends, and getting out and on the land and seeing what's out there and getting a few animals to eat, and you're happy.
What's your advice for others wanting to be on the land?
Go out and do it. Go out and do it. Every chance you get, go out on the land and enjoy yourself while you're out there.
What's your advice for others wanting to be hunting and trapping?
My advice is to make sure you get your trapping course, and you can go and get the young hunters licenses and that as well. Get that and go with whoever you can go with, your parents or your aunt or uncle or whoever, and do what you can do. The first thing I think, if you're just starting out, is to ask, like they're asking me, ask some of the trappers what they did when they were young and how did they get started, and get your trapper's license. And I think there's even a young trapper's license you can get. So I'm sure there's going to be some people interested as they get older as well.
Any other words of advice?
Just be safe. When you're on the land, make sure you're safe at all times and enjoy yourself. That's the only advice I can give you. Well, just make sure you're not going around with a loaded gun. You got your axe in a sheath and knives in a sheath, and you make sure you don't go on any bad ice or anything like that, because lots of people went through on the ice. And when I was in trapping one year, I fell through the ice, but I was walking at the time. But I got out. But I didn't go back on that bad ice again. I fell through, but it wasn't very deep, but I managed to crawl back out. The ice was strong enough, so I just crawled back out again. But again, a lot of people don't get out, so you gotta make sure you're safe. I was probably around 20 years old then. Well, this year, I'll show you this snare here. Now, this is what we catch the lynx and the fox in. I use most of the time. We set our snare up on a stick, and they come along and got them.
Same thing as rabbit.
Yeah, same as rabbit. Yeah, that's right. It's a little bigger.
Where's the best spot for trapping?
Well, I don't know. The best spot when I was growing up was up in the Grand Lake area. The best spot for lynx and marten and fox, and we had a really good spot too for marten. And we used to go in from Lake Mulligan, going to Nipperfish Lake, and we had a tilt in there. And but now it all burned. The whole forest burned, our tilt burned, and now it's no good. We got to grow up again now after a few years and be good again.
How long ago did you get these?
I got them this winter.
This winter?
Yeah. I had this one here in January. I had 5 of these this winter and 4 of these. And a marten and a mink. But I only had 2 dozen snares out, so.
How much do they go for?
Let me see now, I'll tell you real quick. lynx went for in the last sale. 200 Canadian average. That's average. Now the top price was $290 American. So what was that? $290 American would be what? Close to 500?
Yeah, like 475.
Yeah, something like that.
How long did it take to like skin it and stuff?
It takes quite a while, especially when you keep the claws on. The claws are still on, and they're sharp too, so you gotta be careful. They're hard to see, even a lynx when they're walking along in sand or something. You can't see the shape of their claws because their feet are just so round, kind of way. And but when you send them out to market, that don't have to be on them. That can be cut off. And this is a snare I caught them in. Snares like this. You just set that on a stick, wrap this around, make sure it's good and solid, and put some same as you ever set a rabbit snare? Yeah, same thing, on a little bit higher and a little bit bigger. And this here is all caribou bone, caribou leg. Well, this here we used to flesh the animals. I know my grandfather probably made that, I don't know. You put your animal over that board and you'd scrape it down. And the different traps, just the leg hole traps, and this is a trap here I found in the country one time. It's a jump trap, that one is. You catch mink. I think there was a main thing with this one here. This here is a trap I would use for catching martin or mink as well. And I'll just set this one up for you now. Without getting my fingers caught, hopefully. And this, I'm going to take the safeties off. I'm not going to use, I wonder. There.
Yeah, that would work.
And then I would use this trap setter here. See, when you got the animal in your trap, and I just use this trap setter. If I can get the rig fixed up here. And this is just something I made up here, so. And then you just get that spring down like that. You do the same thing on the other side. There you go. And you can do the same thing with this. Well, I'll show you something else with that big one. This here is a fox trap. So one time these were used a lot, but then used for everything. This type of trap. But then the European Commission didn't want those kind of traps used on lynx and other certain animals, but you could still use them for a fox. Didn't make much sense, but foxes were overrunning the countryside in Europe or something, and they called them a nuisance.
Oh, yeah.
So they. I gotta put my boots on for this one. We're not going to set this one. Oh no. But when we did set that one, when we did set that trap like that, we go and cut a stick, 5 or 6 feet long, and we drive the stick under a root of a tree, and then push down on the spring, and set it. You need 2 people at that. But then you could get C-clamps too. We had 2 C-clamps and screw them down, and they were good. No, we'll go to this one here. I don't think we'll set this one up, but I'll show you with the small one there. I'm going to show you now that you can use a setter. You can get a bigger setter like this right here. This was just a homemade one. Or we can use this piece of line, rope. We've got to make a circle in it big enough to get our toe of our boot in. Take my phone up. And we go through the spring up through this one, and back through this one here again. And you take notice, make sure this is not tangled up in your line. No, never gotten. Yeah, that spring is set. And you can do the same thing with a tree. If you got a small marten trap and you got something, squirrel or something in it, you can wrap this around a tree instead of putting it around your foot. Just do the other side here now. So there, on the way. Remember to use your foot. They have this up and ready, but sometimes they don't want to slide up. There it is, set. Well, not set, but ready to set. One of my grandfather's brothers trapped up in the Churchill River at Winnipesaukee Lake. In one winter, he had 365 foxes. They were thick that year. Now you put that in a box, see, and the animal will go down through. Game over.
What do we say to Mr. Blake for coming in today?
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And I hope that some of you take up the trapping.
You've been listening to Labrador Legacy.
Thank you to Arts NL, ArtsSmarts, for funding this program.
We are Rogan,
Owen.
Curtis,
Nixon,
Misha,
Caden,
Raylan,
Xavier,
Cody!
Darius, Noah, Maddox.
at Lake Melville School.
Thank you for listening.
Please check out our other episodes of Labrador Legacy.